There's a new poll out nationally of hypothetical matchups against Donald Trump. The poll is from Quinnipiac University, and it shows that Donald Trump is behind every single one of the 6 Democratic contenders that poll takers were asked about, or not poll takers, I guess people polled. The poll takers, I guess, are the pollsters. People who were polled in all 6 instances chose the Democratic challenger over Donald Trump. Now, we're going to look at this, but I want to say right now, I wish they had included some other candidates in these hypothetical matchups, and I'll tell you why in a moment, but let's look at the numbers first. Biden versus Trump, Trump is 9 points behind Biden. Sanders versus Trump, Trump is 8 points behind Bernie. Trump is 7 points behind Elizabeth Warren, 6 points behind Michael Bloomberg, 5 points behind Pete Buttigieg, and 4 points behind Amy Klobuchar. So as you can see, these are national numbers. Now, a few thoughts about this. Number one, I would love to have seen hypothetical matchups against Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard, because their supporters already, they call into me all the time and they say, David, the candidacies of Andrew Yang and Tulsi are being suppressed. And they will also often say that their candidate, Yang supporters say this about Yang, Tulsi supporters say this about Tulsi. They will say, the only person who can really beat Trump is my candidate, be it Yang or Tulsi. Clearly, according to this latest poll, it's not the case that those would be the only people who can beat Trump, but it would be great to see Andrew Yang in a hypothetical head-to-head against Donald Trump. Same with Tulsi. Now, my prediction is, especially because of name recognition, I don't think that in a hypothetical matchup right now, Yang or Tulsi do as well against Trump as Biden, Bernie, and Warren. I just don't think that would be the case. But as long as they're not included in the polls, we don't know. And it gives fuel to their followers to continue to say they are actually the strongest ones to face off against Trump, but their candidacies are being suppressed. Look, case in point, their names aren't even being brought up. Now, again, because of name recognition, it's possible that you would have a huge number of undecided if you polled that way, or that the numbers wouldn't be favorable to Yang and Tulsi respectively. But I still think that it should be done. Now, let's get to the caveats and the problems with this type of polling. Number one, our election is really 50 smaller elections. This is an electoral election, not a national popular vote. We haven't had a presidential election where we end up with a 9-point gap on the popular vote, or an 8-point gap, or 7, or even 6, 5, in a really, really long time. Most likely, the 2020 election popular vote is not going to be decided by 6 points, 7 points. It's going to be much, much closer than that. It's going to tighten. When it tightens, the race is going to be about key states that are difference makers. What I mean by that is a huge margin in California for the Democratic candidate in the popular vote is not going to help you win if you can't win key states like some combination of Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Ohio, so on and so forth. Now, of course, if the Democratic candidate wins by 9 in the popular vote, they are going to win a lot of those key states by default, because the 50 elections are individual elections, but they also are related in terms of the mood of the country and the general momentum. But that is really the way we need to be interpreting these hypothetical matchups. While these hypothetical matchups do give us a lot of important information about momentum and the mood of the country and favorability and skepticism of Trump, rightfully so, if you see Biden +9 and Bernie +8 and you think this is in the bag, very, very far from it. The other important thing to keep in mind, when you look at a lot of these matchups, for example, Biden versus Trump, 51-42, that's 93% of the vote. That means that there's another 7% that as of right now are either undecided, unsure, or voting for somebody else. That 7% alone, even without Joe Biden losing any support, like imagine that in that 51-42 matchup, Biden gets the 51, but the 7 that is right now undecided goes to Trump. So it's 51 Biden, 49 Trump. Trump lost by almost 3 percentage points in 2016, popular vote-wise, but won electorally. That's why it's really important not to read more into these numbers than make sense. Even, for people who say Bernie can beat Trump, Bernie's up by 8, 51 to 43. That's 94% of the vote. There's another 6% there, which could go to Trump. So it's really important not to get any false sense of complacency because of these polls. We should not be lulled by these results. And especially when you look at what happened in 2016, when you look at Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, for example, being the difference makers, North Carolina. Now I'm confusing myself, but I think you know the point that I'm making. It is really important that our plan B not just get out the vote generally, because California, Trump's going to get crushed, and the popular vote margin will be huge. But either way, whether you win California by 1, 2, or 10, you just get California's electoral votes. These key states are where we need to be focusing on get out the vote. And when the eventual Democratic nominee is decided, I hope that they actually will do that. Let me know what you think about the hypothetical matchups. Let me know if you agree, disagree that Andrew Yang and Tulsi should be included, just so we can get the numbers, because their followers insist that they are really the ones that can defeat Donald Trump. And in the meantime, we will continue covering this on the David Pakman Show Instagram page at David Pakman Show. And while you are there, I ask you to also humbly follow me on Instagram at david.pakman. One of our sponsors is privacy.com. They're giving you $5 when you sign up for their completely free service at privacy.com/Pakman. I've been using Privacy for a little over a year now. You've heard me talk about it before. It's a lifesaver, and here's how it works. It takes just a couple of minutes to set up. Anytime you buy something online or on the phone, instead of actually using your real credit card number, the Privacy app and the browser plugin let you give each company a randomized virtual credit card number that you create out of thin air. It'll even autofill the card number with one click. And the payment is taken out of your checking account without the merchant ever knowing your real information. So this allows you to keep your banking information secure, but also to take control of your finances. You can create up to 12 of these virtual credit cards a month. You can set spending limits. You can freeze them. You can delete them anytime you want. So when you do this, it means you're not going to be charged when you don't want to be, because you can destroy the virtual card number right after using it, which, for instance, I love using free trials because I know I won't be charged when the trial is over if I use a virtual credit card number. You're keeping your identity private by not telling companies who you are. You're keeping your bank or credit card info protected against data breaches and identity theft. And it's free. There's no catch whatsoever. But if you want, Privacy also offers a $10 a month plan that gives you 1% cash back and lets you create 36 credit cards a month, and a $25 a month plan tailored more for small businesses where you can create 60 card numbers a month and much more. But definitely go ahead and at least get started with the free plan. You'll protect your financial info. Companies can't charge you unexpectedly. And like I said, you'll get $5 to spend when you sign up at privacy.com/Pakman.